Insiders are revealing to me the true story of how Meghan Markle failed.
Oprah's interview when her credibility went down just as Boris Johnson's eyebrow.
I feel like Meghan's rebrand is just to say, I'm a victim. And she's about as far from a victim as you could possibly get. In a deliberate attempt to terrorize her long-suffering husband, Prince Harry.
Again, I have to be careful what I say, but that I won't be able to show, my children my home.
It was the interview nobody saw coming. The moment that made people stop mid-scroll and say, wait, what is really happening with Harry and Meghan? For years, Harry rode for Meghan no matter what. Every headline, every scandal, every fight with the palace. When the media called them rebels one day, victims the next, and villains right after that, he still stood 10 toes down beside her. No matter how chaotic it got, he picked her side every single time. But now, the script flipped in a way nobody expected. Something shifted in Harry, and in what many are calling his most exposed, most unguarded moment yet, he finally opened up about what went down behind palace doors and what Meghan did that changed him. People close to him are saying this is the first time he's spoken without fear, without someone guiding every word, without Meghan shaping the message.
Like, I curtsied as though I was like, pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty. Like, was that okay?
It's really quite sad.
One of the strongest arguments about their relationship is that she's a dominant narcissistic woman that tricked him into doing all this.
The polished fairy tale image, it's cracking wide open. The world watched him go from the fun, confident prince everyone loved into a man who looks drained, distant, and cut off from everything he once knew. And according to one insider who spoke to The Telegraph, Harry is finally seeing things clearly. The insider claims he recognized the manipulation, the pressure, the quiet reshaping of his life piece by piece. For someone who always tried to act strong, that realization hit hard. And this didn't just happen out of nowhere. It started last week. Harry showed up at a private wellness summit in California, an event focused on men's mental health. On the surface, everything seemed calm. Cameras flashing, polite smiles, careful answers. Then a journalist asked a question that sliced right through the moment.
And our culture of victimhood is really then a culture of narcissism. And Harry and Meghan are its perfect representatives because they are now king and queen victims.
Especially when he's on the BBC saying that it's not safe enough for my family in the UK.
Why make Harry confront and distance himself from his brother William? Those are the questions that only match a narcissist pattern.
Do you ever feel like you lost yourself in love? Harry froze. His smile faded. He let out a long, heavy sigh that filled the room. Then he said, "There was a time I didn't even recognize the man in the mirror anymore. I thought I was finding freedom, but sometimes freedom feels like a cage." Silence. You could feel the air shift. Those words, "freedom feels like a cage," hit like a shockwave. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Social media exploded. Comment sections went wild.
Women, please go back to California and be with your children and go and find a career other than just being desperate for attention every single day.
Everyone knew who he meant, even though he never said her name. People replayed the video over and over, analyzing every pause, every breath, every flicker in his eyes. Royal commentators broke down each sentence. Psychologists weighed in. Former aides quietly spoke to tabloids. One source told the Daily Mail, "That's the closest he's ever come to admitting regret." And it shows. According to insiders close to the Sussex Circle, the relationship has been under serious pressure for months inside their Montecito mansion. Tension has been building, slow and steady. The first visible cracks showed up during the chaos around their stalled Netflix projects. Meghan pushed for more shows, more contracts, more visibility.
Surprise, surprise, it was Meghan Markle.
You keep saying Meghan Markle, I'm Sussex now. I like working hard.
Bigger moves, bigger spotlight. Harry, on the other hand, wanted something simple, quiet, stability, peace of mind. He's worn down. One insider put it straight. He's tired of being the prop, the spokesman, the husband who always nods. Behind closed doors, the pressure allegedly kept stacking up. Events, deals, appearances, messaging, always on brand, always controlled. And now, for the first time, it looks like he's questioning how much of himself he gave away, trying to protect someone who may not have seen things the same way. That realization? That's the real gut punch people felt when they heard him speak. For years, Harry believed he was the hero,
But whenever there's a power imbalance, and that's what we are looking at here, no matter how much chemistry they have at first, it will be increasingly harder to last.
He sat in Montecito, twiddling his thumbs, thinking, what do I do next? What is my role? Where is my work?
The one stepping in to protect Meghan from what he saw as a harsh and outdated royal system. He truly felt he was saving her. But now, that belief seems to be shifting. Slowly, and maybe painfully, he appears to be realizing something deeper. What if he was the one who needed saving all along? This realization did not come all at once. It built gradually. Small moments added up over time. Part of it came as he watched life continue without him back in the UK. His family seems to be rebuilding. His brother appears confident and settled. King Charles looks focused on his legacy rather than past tensions.
King Charles and Prince William still believe Meghan Markle is a bigger threat to the royal family.
Prince Harry is refusing, it seems, to play along with Meghan Markle's games, and that's proven, especially for me, with this staged Dodgers video that has just been released.
Meanwhile, Harry seems caught in between worlds, not fully connected to London, but not entirely at peace in California either. Emotionally, he appears stuck. Publicly, he has said, "I love the two of us." But insiders claim the dynamic behind the scenes feels more complicated. They suggest Meghan is heavily involved in every aspect of their public life. Every project, every call, every public appearance reportedly goes through careful discussion. According to sources, there is concern about him speaking too freely without a shared plan. At the summit, that concern may have become reality. When Harry said that freedom feels like a cage, the moment quickly went viral.
When they were at the softball and the kiss cam came on. And a lot of people have commented on this, but I want to comment on the specific technique. And
Behind the scenes, there were reportedly immediate efforts to manage the situation. Advisors reached out to media contacts. Questions were raised about how the comment unfolded publicly. But by then, the clip had already spread across social media. Many people described it as a rare, unfiltered moment. Sources claim Meghan was upset afterward. One insider said she confronted him, accusing Harry of being careless and giving tabloids material to speculate on. However, this time he reportedly did not immediately backtrack or apologize. He remained calm and did not withdraw the comment. Since then, observers have pointed out subtle changes. During joint appearances, he seems quieter. He has attended some charity events on his own. His demeanor appears more reflective and reserved. There was another moment that drew attention. After his on-stage comment, Harry reportedly stayed for a private conversation with a smaller group.
It's really quite sad.
Who does this? Who behaves like this?
She was the villain.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
According to those present, he shared something personal when asked about his mental health journey. He said, "Healing means telling the truth even when it hurts the people you love." That statement stood out. It suggested someone wrestling with difficult emotions, possibly feeling caught between loyalty and personal growth. The media reacted quickly. Headlines suggested marriage tension and personal regret. While tabloids can exaggerate, some insiders insist the situation is serious. Friends say Harry has changed over the past year. He seems quieter and more distant. One former military friend told the Mirror, "He used to be the guy cracking jokes and buying the next round. Now he just stares at his drink." According to that same friend, Harry also admitted, "Sometimes I miss being invisible."
To a micro-expression of frustration right at the same time that Meghan says that she didn't know much.
This is gross and grim and deranged on every level.
Then she looks away from him and tenses her jaw. At looking away, that jaw tension that's covered anger.
For someone who stepped away from royal duties seeking privacy, that statement carries weight. It reflects a man who may still be searching for balance, identity, and peace in a life that remains under constant public attention. Here's the bitter truth. Harry's search for freedom may have turned into the very thing that boxed him in. The luxury deals, the streaming contracts, the endless documentaries and global interviews that were supposed to give him purpose. Instead of freedom, they started to look like pressure, shiny on the outside, heavy underneath. And insiders say Meghan can see that shift happening. But according to people in their circle, her main concern isn't the relationship itself, it's the brand, the image, the empire they built together. Because this more open, more reflective version of Harry, that could shake everything. One Hollywood insider reportedly said, "If he keeps talking like this, the facade cracks. And once it cracks, it's over."
But I have to just say, anyone who has doubted me over the past decade about this evil woman now needs to eat some humble pie, because this video designed to mentally torture her husband.
That's the fear. So now the question hanging in the air is obvious. Is this the beginning of the end? Because Harry isn't just showing emotion. He's talking about control, identity, the cost of love when one person feels overshadowed. And the most striking part is that he's saying it publicly. Every sentence feels like someone testing new ground, like he's stepping outside a script and seeing what happens. For years, critics claimed his public words were carefully managed. Now, his tone sounds different, less polished, more personal. And based on reports, Meghan's reaction showed just how serious this moment was. The summit clip spread fast. Millions of views in a matter of hours, social media lit up, comment sections filled with speculation. Analysts replayed his words over and over. Sources claim Meghan immediately went into crisis mode. Phones were reportedly ringing nonstop. Advisors trying to assess the damage. Messages going out to media contacts. One insider described it as all hands on deck.
I just spoke to somebody that said their palace sources say perhaps the king would plan to meet with Prince Harry at the beginning of 2026. Meghan Markle has no desire to return to the UK because she knows how simply loathed she is.
There are even claims that when the clip started trending, Meghan was seen pacing inside their Montecito home, urgently speaking on the phone and saying, "Get it taken down. I don't care how. Flag it. Call the press team. Fix it now." Whether every detail is accurate or not, one thing is clear. The comment could not be contained. Harry's words, "Freedom can look a lot like a cage," were already everywhere. Screenshots, headlines, reaction videos. No statement could erase that moment. For years, Meghan has been seen as highly strategic about public messaging. Every interview carefully framed, every podcast episode polished, every camera angle considered. Supporters call it smart branding. Critics call it calculated. But this time, control seemed to slip. According to insiders, that loss of control led to a serious confrontation at home. When Harry returned from the summit, sources say Meghan confronted him directly. What followed has been described as one of their biggest arguments yet.
I think she sold Harry a sad story, a poor girl story. She had to keep us out of it because it's not a true story.
She allegedly accused him of making her look manipulative. One insider claimed she shouted that he had made her seem like some controlling, scheming wife. She reportedly told him he had damaged everything they worked for. But this time, Harry didn't immediately retreat. According to sources, he calmly responded, "I didn't ruin anything. I just told the truth." 6 simple words. And insiders say that response changed the tone of everything. The argument reportedly escalated, ending with Meghan walking away and slamming a door hard enough to shake the room. But the real impact wasn't inside the house. It was online. Royal commentators dissected every second of the clip, every pause, every facial expression. Twitter threads multiplied. TikTok creators broke down his body language. YouTube channels posted long analyses. A common theme kept appearing. Harry is reaching a breaking point. Even parts of the British press, which he has publicly battled for years, jumped on the moment. Headlines sharpened. Commentators speculated.
She thinks that's a win, Brittany? No, we see you, Meghan. We see you, and now the world sees you.
When you look at Meghan and you look at how she is the one that really is controlling Harry, there's absolutely no doubt.
The tone shifted from curiosity to something more intense. Whether this is a temporary storm or something deeper remains unclear. But one thing is certain. The narrative has changed, and people are watching more closely than ever. Original word count, 617 words. Rewritten word count, 676 words. The next morning, the headlines were ruthless. Harry's cryptic confession, trouble in paradise. Sussex fairy tale falling apart, freedom or regret. The tone was sharp, dramatic, almost hungry. But here's what surprised people the most. Harry reportedly didn't look shaken. According to a close friend, he actually looked relieved, lighter, like a man who had finally said something he'd been holding in for years. That same friend shared that it was the first time Harry seemed fully honest with himself. He quietly admitted his life hadn't turned out the way he once imagined. Not the freedom, not the peace, not the clarity, but Meghan was not about to let that version of the story take over.
See her face. You get here, mate. But on stage, when they knew everyone was filming on their mobile phones and taking pictures, it got even worse.
According to insiders, she didn't panic, she strategized. Calls were reportedly made immediately. Friendly journalists were contacted. Carefully worded exclusive sources began appearing in major outlets. Within 48 hours, the narrative started to shift. Magazine after magazine pushed a softer angle. Harry wasn't hurt. He was misunderstood. He wasn't cracking. He was reflecting. He wasn't unhappy. He was simply exhausted. It was a clean pivot, smart messaging, tight coordination. But online, people weren't convinced. The original clip felt too raw, too unscripted, too personal. Social media users pushed back hard. Comments flooded in. He looks miserable. That's not reflection, that's regret. She's protecting herself, not him. That became the dominant mood. Harry didn't look free. He looked boxed in, trapped in a life that felt louder than he expected. Trapped behind doors no one else sees. Friends say he began withdrawing even more. Long stretches alone in the garden.
That she is embarking on Freudian transfer.
Not knowing about it, I reverted back to 12-year-old Harry.
She is using a real childhood trauma that Prince Harry suffered from, losing his mother.
After everything that had happened to my mum, and to now be put in a position of losing another woman in my life.
And she has used it to further harness him to her and their relationship. She has convinced him he actually believes that Meghan Markle is Princess Diana.
Quiet nights staring into a fire. Fewer social outings, less small talk. One source described him as drifting. He reportedly stopped returning calls from some of Meghan's Hollywood contacts. Invitations slowed. Appearances were declined. The glamour that once defined their California chapter seemed less appealing to him. And with that distance came a heavier realization. An insider put it bluntly. He has no family nearby, no lifelong friends in the room. For years, the loudest voice guiding him was hers. When that truth settled in, it hit hard. Because once you start questioning your reality, once you ask what's authentic and what's constructed, you can't easily go back. Sources claim Harry quietly began reaching out to people from his past. Old army friends, a former palace aide who once helped manage his schedule. Not to negotiate anything, not to make big announcements, just to reconnect, to remember who he was before the spotlight changed shape. He wasn't looking to rewrite history. He was trying to reconnect with himself. And meanwhile, Meghan was reportedly feeling the pressure from a different angle. Public opinion was shifting fast. Previous media partnerships had already cooled, Spotify was gone, Netflix momentum had slowed, and now, according to insiders, the one thing she believed was solid, Harry's unwavering public loyalty, seemed uncertain. So she prepared what some sources called a countermove, plans reportedly formed for a glossy magazine feature, a carefully framed interview.
He constantly is living this life of demanding extra because he's Prince Harry. Bro, when you left the royal family, you became some random dude. Let's keep it honest. Who was Prince Harry?
So many people. They want all the privileges. They want all of the honors. They want all the plaudits, but they don't want to do it.
The goal? To present her once again as the misunderstood woman navigating cruelty, bias, and misinformation. But the response wasn't what it used to be. Hollywood stayed quiet. Fashion insiders didn't rush to defend her. Talk show hosts avoided strong takes. Even some former allies remained neutral. The wave of automatic sympathy that once surrounded her had softened. And in that silence, insiders say the pressure mounted. One staff member claimed they overheard Meghan late at night, voice emotional on the phone saying, "I gave up everything for him, everything, and now he's making me look like the villain." Whether that moment happened exactly as described or not, the tension was clear. But here's the key point. Harry wasn't publicly attacking her. He wasn't naming names. He wasn't laying blame. He was speaking about identity, about truth, about healing. And that same week, while the media storm was still swirling, Harry attended a private veterans gathering in Santa Barbara, a setting far removed from cameras, contracts, and carefully managed headlines. The veterans gathering in Santa Barbara was nothing like the Hollywood events he had grown used to. No flashing cameras, no red carpets, no brand strategy meetings waiting afterward. Just a quiet room filled with former service members, coffee cups in hand, trading real stories about life after uniform. And for the first time in a long time, Harry looked comfortable. One attendee later shared that he blended in easily. No performance, no polished lines, just listening, nodding, speaking when it felt natural.
For kids, that's fun, so many good songs. And I've become that mom where I'm like sitting around with friends and I start singing like, Tyrannosaurus, that's the chorus, Tyrannosaurus. I was like, what am I singing? Oh my gosh, I'm singing Storybox. I'm singing Storybox. I am not singing Beyonce in that.
At one point, during a small circle discussion about transition and identity, Harry said, "When you lose your role, you start wondering who you are without it." The room went still. That wasn't a prince talking. That was a veteran, a man trying to reconnect with the part of himself that existed before titles, before contracts, before global scrutiny. People there said he stayed longer than scheduled. He didn't rush out. He didn't check his phone every 5 minutes. He seemed present. And that presence spoke louder than any headline. Sources say this wasn't random. Harry has reportedly been spending more time revisiting the parts of his life that felt grounded. The military, charity work, small private gatherings where cameras aren't allowed. It's less about image and more about meaning. Less noise, more substance. Meanwhile, the gap between him and Meghan's public strategy appears to be widening. Insiders claim she prefers high-visibility projects, big partnerships, strong positioning in media. Harry, on the other hand, seems to be leaning toward low-profile, impact-driven work. That difference may sound small, but in a partnership built on shared messaging, it creates tension, because now the direction isn't aligned. Friends close to Harry say he has started asking deeper questions. Not dramatic ones, not explosive ones, just quiet reflections. What does peace actually look like? What kind of father does he want to be? What kind of legacy feels authentic to him? Those questions change a person. At the Veterans event, someone reportedly thanked him for speaking openly about mental health. Harry responded simply, "It's easier to tell the truth when you stop trying to protect an image."
Here's what I would say about that. I think it's very important to shift this idea that play the opposite and make sure you can be taken seriously. My point in all of this is that no matter what you look like, you should be taken seriously.
That line didn't trend. It wasn't clipped into viral posts. But for the people in that room, it mattered. Back in Montecito, the atmosphere is said to be tense but controlled. No public outbursts, no official statements, just careful silence, separate schedules, fewer joint appearances. Observers have noticed that when they are seen together, the body language feels different. Polite, but distant. Still united on paper, but something underneath feels shifted. What makes this chapter different is not one dramatic argument or one viral clip. It's the pattern, the subtle pullback, the change in tone, the way Harry seems less interested in defending and more interested in understanding himself. For years, the world saw him as reactive, responding to family, to press, to criticism. Now he appears reflective. And that shift is powerful, because once someone begins to rediscover who they were before the noise, before the pressure, before the brand, it becomes very hard to silence that voice again. Original word count 356 words. Rewritten word count 401 words. No Meghan, no cameras, no stylists, just Harry and a room full of people who knew him before everything shifted. Before stepping away from royal duties, before the streaming deals, before California became his new reality. Witnesses from the veterans gathering say he looked emotional, not polished, not rehearsed, just human. At one point, speaking to a small group, he said, "You don't realize how lost you are until someone takes the compass away." The room went quiet. He continued, "I thought I was doing the right thing, but somewhere along the way, I stopped being me." Those words hit hard. Veterans in the room later said it didn't sound like a prince talking. It sounded like someone admitting he had drifted. Behind the fame, the interviews, the public tension, they saw a man who had been carrying something heavy for years and was finally saying it out loud. The moment didn't go viral. There were no official clips. But within that community, it spread fast. People were shocked by how open he was. For many of them, it confirmed what they had quietly sensed, that Harry has been struggling with identity more than image. And then came another development. Shortly after that event, a journalist known for strong royal sources reported something unexpected. According to insiders, Harry has quietly been working with a publisher on a new personal project. Not a sequel memoir, not a glossy documentary, something different. Sources claim it's deeply personal and focused entirely on his own identity. Not on royal drama, not on defending decisions, just his perspective, his internal journey, his mistakes, his growth. One insider who allegedly saw early excerpts described it as brutally honest. They said Harry reflects on how love, loyalty, grief, and public pressure can slowly reshape a person until they barely recognize themselves. And this time, according to those same sources, he isn't telling anyone else's story. He's telling his own. That shift matters, because when someone who has long been part of a shared narrative starts speaking independently, it changes the balance. Insiders claim Meghan is deeply uncomfortable with this direction, not because she fears honesty, but because it removes control from the joint image they carefully built. When one voice becomes separate, the unified story weakens. Observers say Harry looks calmer lately, not louder, not dramatic, just steady. And for the first time in years, he appears ready to let whatever falls. If you watched this and have thoughts, drop them in the comments below. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see it.